Sunil, you have 150,000 people on Meetup, and I wanted you to first introduce yourself, but then tell how are you retooling and shifting in this massively changing world with the coronavirus that's now creating new opportunities and a new world for us to live into.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you for having me on. And I have about 150,000 people across the United States, Canada, and in London right now, and growing. And this is what I do. I teach people how to create large audiences in a private mastermind that I do for high-level people who want to learn how to do that and upbrand themselves so they have a global presence in the world. I think. I can share how I do it, but really more importantly, I think this is the time for people out there who are in business to get online for sure. Mm-hmm. And Alignable makes that doubly interesting. I mean, I'm on MeetUp.com, but the combination of Alignable and Meetup and other platforms makes it extremely, extremely important to get on Alignable. I would assert very strongly. And I've been on Alignable for a while. I've made money on Alignable, as I know, Martin, you have as well. Yeah. And like a lot of platforms, you got to think it through and see how it directly applies to your business. So in some cases, it might be a case-by-case design. But on the whole, the important thing is to start getting on the platform because you get the local exposure within your own area, which is a good place to start. And it helps really more than LinkedIn and even Facebook at a lower cost, much lower cost. You're going to be able to promote your business to be found by other people, which is important, be found. Because once you're found and people find you intriguing, then they start chasing you, which is a whole different psychology from what other people try to do. Facebook, God bless them, and LinkedIn is great too, but it's a lot more work you have to do on Facebook and LinkedIn in order because you're competing with a lot more people. On Alignable, you have lesser number competition, and you can fine tune your messaging to people and who are also interested in what you're doing. So there are quite a lot of advantages to using Alignable. I think the easiest way to do is to just get started and get a free account at least, and start figuring out how to use it, and talk to me and Martin, come to our YouTube channels, etc., and discover how you can learn how to do more of that. Yeah.
Well, the other thing is I'm an advocate on Alignable. If you upload an address, make sure you are hand selecting the people to connect. Don't just have it blanket, for me at least, blanket email, because you might have your ex in there or someone else on that list, and move a little slower. It's designed to slow down and move. And we have the local meet and greet for Alignable, and I teamed up with Bill Davis, who he had a pretty big meetup for our area, and we teamed up, and that had great synergy on it because we're getting cross connections as well. In fact, at the event, we have a little handout sheet for people who don't even know about Alignable that came on to learn about it as well and connect. Yes. So that's how we got. But we're designed to be a very small, we're not going for a big body count. We want an intimate, smaller group. And we just had the biggest meeting ever with our last Alignable on Zoom meeting. And then our next one's coming up soon as well. So this was really interesting because it allowed people a little bit outside the area to meet, but there are a lot of opportunities. If you're a local tutor, now over Zoom, you could be teaching someone in Oklahoma.
Correct. That's correct. Yes. So your local Alignable account can give you access and get you beyond the geography now, if you position yourself correctly, because now we're all on Zoom. We can't do in-person events. Mm-hmm. So, and that's what we're beginning to see in our own, my own clients. Is when you start posting your events on Alignable, a lot of people don't realize this, but Alignable is actually very, very search friendly, especially locally in your area. And when you combine that with cross-linking, I hope you guys understand what I'm saying by cross-linking. When you put links to your Alignable account from your Meetup group to your own website and your LinkedIn profile, then you start really, now you're cooking with not just natural gas, but you're cooking with nuclear power, because you're building more and more Google searchability for yourself when you use Alignable in conjunction with all these other things, you see. So you have to think outside the box, not just doing one or two things. You got to think about many things. But Alignable is certainly a critical factor in that, because it's hard to get any Google searchability with Facebook or LinkedIn even. But if you start putting on Alignable and cross-linking, then you're increasing the chances of being found.
Because Meetup's pretty well indexed by Google, isn't it? I haven't double-checked that lately, but yeah. And of course, Alignable, I've proven, is well indexed by Google. So now you have these two, and I like to say when you combine two, treat them like a multiplication factor, not just an additive factor.
Yeah, not one plus one is not two. It's more like 3,000 or 10,000 in our cases. Yeah.
Now, if they were going to do some paid work on Alignable, what's the first tier you'd recommend for spending money for paid work? Because we've just done this organically, because Bill, now I have a paid account, but Bill doesn't have a paid account. And really most of our initial traffic has come organically between the two of us more than paid, because I'm kind of big is if you can prove that it'll work organic, then it scales by money and it's a good system. That's kind of my rule of thumb. So talk about if they were going to pay, what you'd recommend with Alignable.
Well, I mean, we actually, the majority of us actually have free accounts on Alignable. We're still making money. We're actually working out something where we're going to become local leaders on Alignable. I think it's a really good idea, and bump up our membership even. I'm certainly looking at doing that. Because the truth is, you want to pay a little bit more to get more of that searchability and more of that promotability. I think you still have to be a little proactive, because a lot of people just join, but they don't do anything, but you got to post events, you got to post articles, and what you're doing intelligently, which is something I'm going to talk to my group about doing as well, is start selectively finding people who are the best connectors in your area, where you can get connected with them. Like, you certainly want to get connected to Martin, but you want to find the local connectors, connect with them, and start meeting them, and then doing joint events with them, so they promote you and you promote them as well. And that's how you can start growing on Alignable. It's a smarter way of doing it, and doesn't have to take up a lot of time, especially if you're doing it online. So if you meet Martin online, for example, through Alignable, and he does an event with you, he's going to promote it to his group, and you're going to promote it to your group. If you have equal sizes of group, or even slightly smaller sizes of group compared to Martin, they're still both going to benefit, because the size of the promotion and who you're getting into your pipeline is what's going to pay off in the medium to long term. So so that's the idea. I would look for collaborators and connectors in the area and do our best to connect with them.
That sounds excellent. The other thing is the question and answer in Alignable is an excellent way for building insight into solving problems. I mean, if you can answer questions, that's one of the areas LinkedIn took away that I think was LinkedIn, the most brain dead thing they ever did, is the answer. I met some of the best people all over the world by either answering a question or them answering a question for me, and I've done business with them. So I think one of the golds in Alignable is go in there and give back a little, put a little time and answer some questions, and you'll get known as that, because people don't actually buy thought leaders. They buy people that solve their problems.
Correct.
And, if you show, you don't have to give away the farm, but give something, and answer their question, and don't be vague or use it a hook for them to call you, because they won't trust you then, but give an honest answer. I think that's an excellent way to start building rapport on Alignable and as well. And what's your comments on that?
Well, no, totally. That's a great point, because I was doing it a lot. You got to get, I'm a really busy guy, but that when I was doing the questions on Alignable, again, you see the questions, when you do it on Quora, because Quora is the other one that does all the question and answer kind of stuff, right? But you get lost on Quora. You don't ever get found. even if you answer a lot of questions. But on Alignable, especially when you're looking at local areas, you're more likely going to be found if you do the question and answer stuff. So you're right, you're bang on, Martin. Is the question and answer is where you start, really creating a presence and developing your expert presence in a cool way.
Mm-hmm.
And you're right, Martin. You gotta be less focused on the selling aspect and more about the educational. And give distinct educational. Don't just try to mimic what everyone else is saying, but try to give something original for yourself so you distinguish yourself from everybody else.
Yeah, and it could be a polite disagreement. You don't have to be a jerk about it, but you can go, with all respect, I actually think that may not be the best way to do it. And here's what I think is. And that really builds trust and understanding. So let's back up about 50,000 feet. Let's say we're a small business and we aren't doing Alignable or Meetup at all. Where would you recommend they start to get involved in this for their business? So, in fact, if you want to just pick a business in your mind, you're welcome to. You can kind of pick a case study from the past or something else, anything.
Okay, I see. I think that, the people, a lot of people I meet are consultants or experts in some field. And you want to you're probably trying to educate your clientele. It may not be everyone, but that be the case study I would look at. And I mean, if you look at your options, what are your options? You're looking at Facebook, you're looking at LinkedIn, and maybe looking at Meetup too, or you may be looking at paid ads. I still think when you look at Facebook, I mean, you're looking at quite a lot of money. Mm-hmm. I mean, realistically, it's really $10K a month if you want to make any substantial kind of return on investment. Anything less than that, kind of doubtful. And on LinkedIn, you got to spend a lot of time and you got to craft the message more so, and you got to do a lot of work. Mm-hmm. When you look at the combination of Meetup and Alignable, the costs start coming down because cost for a Meetup group is $5 per month per group. And for Alignable, it's really quite. How much are you paying, Martin, for?
I'm at the second tier. I've got to look it up myself, but I've got.
But I assure you, it's nothing compared to most of
the paid ads. Yes, and I can reach out a pretty big reach. But I'm also an advocate of start free. And one thing I thought of as you were saying that myself is first thing is find a Meetup group just to join. Study one before you do anything else, because
and join one. Yeah, totally. Join one for free. Yeah,
I think a lot of businesses try to create their own tribe when sometimes you can actually be a leader in an existing tribe and do more for less management than anything else. And I was thinking of my late associate, Greg Heyer. He built something called Linking the Triangle. And it was a group on LinkedIn because there was no LinkedIn version for professionals. Well, he got up to about 15, 20,000 people, and there were individuals in that were helping others that were doing less work than he was managing the group and getting more business out of it.
Sure.
Because they were joining something that existed and being of service and working in it.
Yes.
So that might be a better place, just instead of just trying to create your own thing, go in, be nice and be helpful, and join something you feel you have something to contribute to and contribute.
Sure. And you can join a LinkedIn group, you can join Alignable, you can join Meetup. These are really affordable ways to start. But the important thing is to get engaged with the community and find out what people really want. Because people's wants change all the time. The thing we're seeing right now people's wants are changing considerably, just because of the whole situation that we're in right now. And so it's important to join and join it for free, get into Alignable, start connecting with a few people here and there, try and connect with them face to face. Oh, sorry, not face to face, but voice to voice.
We're treating this as the new face to face.
This is the new face to face, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and instead of body to body, I guess.
Right.
Yeah, and so and even if it's a short 10 or 15-minute conversation, it's that kind of intimate business conversation that starts creating bigger deals, and then learn the art and science of finding out what people need and how you can creatively make a collaboration occur. And that takes experience. You gotta get into it first and start just coming from the spirit of understanding how the other person works, ticks. What are they looking for? What are the objectives? What are their sales objectives? Who do they want to reach? What resources can you provide, and vice versa? What resources can they provide for you? And when you start just with those basics, then you can start creating more collaborations. Collaborations on Alignable are very key. In fact, that's when most people start really growing considerably, like Martin and I. So I encourage you all to just get started at least, because that's how you just got to understand how it works for yourself before you start taking on other people's trainings, etc. Yeah.
And basically, I also work in rural areas where they really need to upgrade their internet, and I'm hoping that this challenge at a worldwide level will get more funding for better internet,
for better broadband,
because we really do have a digital divide that's not right.
It
needs to be changed, and we need to make sure, if you're part of it, you are hounding your politicians to take actions on this.
Absolutely.
Because you get in rural areas and it's just cruel how bad their system is, and it needs to be pressured with political work. Now, I do want to give a few tips on that. If you're in a rural area, you need to learn a word called Ethernet connection to your router and get yourself a cable, because almost all laptop will do it, and most are working on Wi-Fi. Well, that drops down. We aren't getting the biggest pipeline. So I'll add that. Most laptops luckily have a camera, and you can get a Chromebook for a few $100 with a camera and be in business. But I do recommend getting the adapter to be able to hook up directly to your Wi-Fi. So I have Google Fiber in my house. I'm very blessed in Raleigh. It's about 800 up and 800 down. Now the slowdown might be with so much bandwidth, but I'm on my Ethernet directly here. So that's one thing, is you've got to at least get the stuff working. I'm also an advocate of getting a good microphone as the next tier. And we're seeing it on the news. They don't even have a lavalier hooked in. It sounds like they're in the bathroom doing the weather and my local news. So, learn about that. I've got some videos on that as well. But, get yourself a good microphone, get a quieter area. And you don't need a studio like I have here. You're in a room. I can hear you clearly. It's good. But a few of those technical things, join a meetup, look out, and for virtual ways to start engaging, become comfortable with this new world, because what I see is this is changing the face of life as we know it. And and those of us who ask, how do I now do successful business, will be ahead of those of us going, I'm just waiting for it to get back to normal.
Yeah. Well, and you're right. This is actually an opportunity that we're seeing. All my clients are seeing it to figure out how to get online even better. Even if you've been on online before, like how can you now get online and strategically use Alignable and all these other platforms you've mentioned in a smart way to really accentuate your business even further, because you can actually go further than you had before. Whenever there's danger, there's also opportunity, fortunately or unfortunately. So, the number of collaborations I'm seeing right now are actually higher than what I've seen before, because people are recognizing the need. And the sooner, those of you who are going to jump on this sooner will probably reap the benefits a lot more than other people. Yeah.
Any things on Meetup that have been adjusted or changing, or tips for the new virtual world?
Well, they're going completely online right now, at least for now, until the situation is resolved. They've done in-person events. But even before, you could actually do virtual events as long as you do an equal amount of in-person events.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a really good idea to get on Meetup right now, and because a lot of people are kind of confused about the situation. And so my group is leading the charge on meetup.com across the world, because we're the only few people who are doing online events,
Mm-hmm.
especially in business, on meetup.com. Meetup has about 48 million people. I think it's probably more like 60 million people by now,
Mm-hmm.
worldwide, in their membership. So that's a fairly substantial number of people, and I'm seeing the same trend in Alignable. This is why Alignable caught my eye right off the bat, because like Martin said very wisely, local marketing, focused, a lot more affordable. And LinkedIn is not quite focusing on small business. If you're a small business, Alignable is a way better bet. And my bets have mostly come true. But I think Alignable has definitely got some pluses for it in those areas I just mentioned. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. And then Alignable does have ways to message groups. So if you have a little group, you can set up the way to have a kind of a dialogue back and forth ongoingly with someone as well. They are always working to improve. You and I are involved with that to support them in building up new features. They are very aware of the pain of the micro business, and we've been actively involved in working with them to get education out of how do we help the micro business owner. They're the small restaurants and so forth. A good friend of mine, Pat Owlett, said, if you were a local restaurant, you should be setting up a system so that when it opens up, you go back to reservations, a slower thing, instead of just anyone show up. Reservations required might be a first tier to get going with. And I think that's a brilliant idea, seeing it as there are some things that have died off in the past in a slower time might be worth bringing those forward into our new future to make them successful. I know I went to one restaurant and said, what you all doing? He says, we're measuring out 6 feet for couples, to have a distancing. So we might have less people, but we'll have them. And honestly, if a restaurant went to buy reservations only, their profits may go up because they're trying to be open forever, and they're trying to be open for times when they've got a full staff and maybe just a few people there. So some of these are opening new opportunities if they're thinking along these lines. And that's, to me, something you and I are passionate about helping co-create, develop, and educate people on.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, it's the opportunity to look outside where you've been looking. I mean, you never know how you can find really good collaborations on Alignable. People in your local area, especially if you're a restaurant, if you find a meeting planner and you connect with them now, 6 months out when people are now beginning to mingle again and come out to restaurants, you may be in a far better position than your competitor. So, you want to use Alignable to find those kinds of collaborators is my advocacy. Yeah.
Excellent. 1 or 2 tips on building up a meetup group. Now, I know you're available for hire for the real big guns on this, but if you'd share a few little tips on what you see, do's and don'ts on Meetup and building it virtually. Anything you...
Well, you got to, again, think outside the box. Most people who get on Meetup or even Alignable, they think in a very narrow way, but you want to look at... See, when I joined Meetup, I didn't just join one. I didn't just set up one Meetup group. I set up like 12. Then eventually now it's, I don't even know how many. I think we probably have 1,000 or more Meetup groups across the world. But the benefit of having more Meetup groups is that, especially if you have it in one city, you can funnel all those Meetup groups to come to 1 or 2 events per month. So you have different groups that are targeting different kinds of people. You could have a Meetup group for older entrepreneurs, or another one for women entrepreneurs, another one for millennials. But they all have the same pain point, which may be learning how to sell or learning how to market better. So they come to the same event because they're going to learn the same thing. They want to learn the same kinds of stuff, or it's the same kind of networking event because they want to meet each other and do business with each other. So you may only have one or two events, but you have several meetup groups, several channels that come into fewer things. That saves you a lot of time and money and energy. And the beautiful thing is that now they're coming to you, not the other way around. You wanna build your business so that people come to you, and there are good reasons for them to come to you. It's where the collaborations also kick in. So when you have collaborators, they help other people come to you, and they attract. There's an attraction factor, pull marketing rather than push marketing. So that's one thing. The other thing to look at when you're thinking marketing and meetup especially is that you want to make sure that your narrative is good, because even if you have a good audience and you build an audience, but your narrative or your offers or what you're selling is not clear or compelling enough, then people are not going to buy. See, so even if you get 10,000 people, you may not get a full clientele. But the more beautiful thing is when you start building an audience, Meetup or Alignable, and you're testing your offer and refining it more often, more frequently by putting events on or posting stuff on and Alignable. Now you have many tests and smart experiments that you're doing to see how you can fine tune your message. Because when you get your message, and let's say you're talking to 10 people and you're converting on an average, let's say 60% of those people into business, and you can do anything almost. You can be an Alignable, you can be a Meetup, and even at a party, and still be converting people into clients. You have your stress level starts going down. But the way to get there is you want to build an audience so you can test and refine your messaging. And then as you do it more often, then you get a very good message. Then I found people's stress levels go down, the level of joy and being in their business goes up, but more important, their confidence starts going up. And you don't want to discount that psychology that occurs as you build your audience and your narrative. The audience, your narrative, the style of your offer is also very key. So, in our program, we teach you how to grow an audience on Meetup, but we also look at how we can make you extra special in your community. Because if people don't feel good and right about what you're offering, they have to feel it. They have to feel like it feels right, and that there's a moral intelligence to what you're providing. Then, when you're, and I think Alignable really, I know Alignable really works well in that direction. When you have a good offer and you're presenting it and you're answering those questions in a very honest way, and you're showing your style is centered, grounded, but enthusiastic, and people see very visibly that you're building a very sound, very well-connected, Alignable community. That's very attractive, and that psychology is what you want to learn and start implementing as soon as possible. Am I making sense, Martin?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, that was great. Those are terrific tips and good information. I was thinking of one person as a Meetup. He does an eBay meetup in the area.
Oh, brilliant.
And it was very successful. Panera Bread occurred. The eBay corporation asked if he'd like to put on an event, and several people came in and had a big event, renting a room.
Sure.
Now, one question he's working out that I haven't checked in with him is he would collect he'd ask for $5 when you come to his event. At the event, now he's working virtual, and he's trying to figure out how to get compensated, because he takes that $5. Basically, he makes a little bit on it, but mainly the overhead of managing it and the sites and things that he helps people with. Any advice for someone like that?
Well, when we typically don't advocate charging for it, because you want to bring in a larger funnel. What you want to figure out is, most of the time in most businesses, you make more money on the back end. In other words, people come to your event for free. You get more people showing up. Mm-hmm. And then you make a really good offer that makes sense for them. It has to feel right again. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know if you can offer eBay consulting. It's of a premium quality. But I've had events where we've had 50 people show up, and I'll have two people who really want extra help. It's usually about 20% of the meetup people who are very, very serious about doing business. Almost like any other kind of marketing. But 80% are kind of like checking it out. You want to get educated before they do anything. But at 20% is where you can make a lot more money, you see. And these people are willing to pay you as long as you educate them right.
Mm-hmm.
So there may be something missing in his meeting or his event, which is not leading up to a compelling enough service offering. Most people undervalue what they can provide.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And it's pretty much across the board. No matter, I've had attorneys who've had like 15 years education who are still undercharging.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the art and science of figuring out what your people really need. It takes a bit of time, but it's worth the time to do, to figure out what your package or your offering could be, which could be more expensive and making you more money, but also people find it more valuable and they're willing to pay you that money. So we tend to leave a very open, wide funnel. We don't charge usually. We charge for some of our events, but very rarely.
Mm-hmm.
But we only charge usually when we know we can have a great, huge attendance, you see. So we leave the funnel really open. A lot of people come to the event, and then we give people a really good sound education or a good time. We entertain them too, in a good way. And then, we bank on the people who are going to actually pay premium for at the back end when we make an offer at the end of our event. So I think that's usually a better model to follow.
Yeah.
It tends to work a lot better. Yeah.
Excellent. And what are the main platforms you use for your virtual meetings? Is it Zoom is the main one, or?
Yeah, pretty much Zoom. I was talking to another tech expert today, and he was telling me, well, Zoom has some of its issues, but they're actually resolving a lot of the issues of privacy. So some people had issues about Zoom only using China as one of its. I have no bias one way or the other, but there's some people have an issue about it, and about privacy and your accounts being hacked, etc. But now they've got other options in Zoom where you can select which data.
I know.
It's very cool. I thought that was a good response, a decent response at least. So there are ways that you can actually set up Zoom so it mitigates some of those risks. I don't think you can ever mitigate any kind of risk to your security or your privacy on internet. Once you're on the internet, it's inherently risky. But I'm not trying to scare you off, but I'm trying to say you just have to learn how to things like these and how to protect your privacy, etc. Make sure you get good, your security on your computer is up to date, your software, etc., that protects your computer, and you want to make sure you restart your laptop as frequently as you can. But Zoom works pretty well. It's worked for us in our group for the last couple of years. I'm actively engaged with their team, and they're very, very proactive, which is what's really great about them. Google has a competing product right now they're bringing on. Mm-hmm. I haven't tested it out fully or tried it out even really, but Microsoft also has a product. But these are, I don't know how expensive they are. The GoToWebinar has a form of that as well, and there are many other products like that.
Amazon Chime. I haven't worked with it in a while, but I know it existed.
Yeah.
I want to say I'm a huge advocate of Zoom. I think it's been targeted because it scaled at a rate almost no company would have not had growing pains. It just went logarithmically up. Right. People joined that weren't willing to learn how to set up the security on it. Right. Most of the mistakes I've been able to narrow down were just not willing to understand what they were on.
Correct.
And making it easy for people to come on. And now what Zoom's done is they've locked down where you actually can't create something without a password now. So they've almost protected people against themselves. I also want to say there is a very large majority that if they don't want to learn new technology, they find out why it's evil. And I've been teaching a long time, and I smell a lot of that in this. Because
you're so bang on that. I mean, I just had an interaction with one of my people. It's a former classmate from my engineering college about it, and he's he's got a certain narrow perspective on it, right? But I mean, Zoom, what he's not aware of is all the proactive measures that Zoom has been taking to protect privacy as well. So, you got to look at it a lot of ways.
Yeah, no, I think that's more a play. And then, of course, the media, any headline of a problem or pain, the large media can't help jump on it. In fact, I'm in the works of an article going, what is news? And not as a political statement. I believe news is the accurate communication of what happened first.
Right.
It's verifiable by multiple people. All else is commentary. You need to say, now we're giving a commentary, or you're not delivering news. And so
and you need some analysis to see, what the real, what the real facts are, what the facts are. Really.
Right. A commitment to the data, and so this is excellent. Well, thanks so much for your time. How can they learn more about you? And I'll make sure we both have our Alignable and contact data in the area below, so they can connect to us both on Alignable and in other ways. So would you be kind enough to share the best way they can reach you and learn more?
Well, just get a free report from me, and you can go to exponentialaudience.com. That's exponentialaudience.com. And then connect with me on Alignable too. Be happy to connect with you as well there.
Fantastic. That sounds great. Well, thank you so much. This was really rich. And I'm excited that we're getting to work together. We met in our passion for helping Alignable. So that's this kind of collaboration and contact. And then I want to interview you, and that's what brought this on. So that's
how it works.
Area working. So thank you so much. Great.
My pleasure. Yeah, totally. Yeah.